All right, question is, can you put on a back rack, a tonneau cover, and side rails all at the same time? Manufacturer says no, but it is possible if you're willing to do some work. Basically, you can buy the back rack here with a tonneau cover kit, and that's just these spacers. They come in different sizes, whether you want to go with a low profile style tonneau cover, such as the, whatever the label is, Truxedo Lo-Pro cover. That's this guy. This one is 4 years old and holding up just great, but they're expensive, around $850, I think. But yeah, or you can go with a flip-up style or hardcover, whatever. They just have a thicker booster plate, basically. Because typically when you have side rails on these trucks with a back rack, this bracket just sits flat on the bottom, no plate in between. I'll show you guys the modifications I had to do to make this work after getting really frustrated a few times. So hopefully you don't have to. Yeah, everything works normal. Excuse the mess of tools. And then I guess you would just hook this up here somewhere. But what you have to modify. So first of all, the Truxedo Lo-Pro, which like I said has been on here a lot longer than the brand new back rack, typically has these brackets. It goes through the bottom, or sorry, the back stake pocket, but the back rack needs it for a mount for the rails. So that means that this is gone. And what I'm gonna do is get a couple more of these smaller clamps. I have 3 on each side, but I'll probably get another 4, so I have 5 on each side. And it'll be just a little bit more robust, because the whole point of having a tonneau cover is just a tiny bit of security. And yes, everybody can cut it, but it's nice if it's actually a solid unit. So what had to change? First, you gotta pull off your tonneau cover, get it back to the, whatever, empty, nothing on your truck. In my case, I had, where's it? In here, I had 2 of these hooks. And so these actually just turn out. You use a crescent wrench, spin them out. It's like a butterfly, kind of like a butterfly drywall anchor. But those were in the front here, so I had to pull them out so I could put the front stake pockets in, which has a big bolt coming up the top. And that's all just fine. And it's all going together great until I tried to put my tonneau cover on. But basically what you're gonna do is this spacer here has to be cut down, and I'll try and add some pictures in that I took along the way. But this spacer here is cut about 1 inch. So what I did is I put a metal cutting blade on my miter saw and just cut a 45, because it used to be about yay long. And what else? It also had to, no, that was good for that. This bracket here needed a notch cut in it, because, sorry, this bolt hole here was slightly off, like it wasn't quite wide enough. Because what happens is this mounting plate here, this guy here, obviously interferes a little bit with the side rail, so you need to be able to get it to slide inside of the side rail, when with normal mounting holes everything's flush on the inside, which would hold the side rail up, and it wouldn't work. So basically all you got to do is notch this hole about 1/4 inch, make it a little wider, and then switch out your mount so that this is using the inside hole. There's 2 holes through the back rack, and if you're using the inside hole, you slide it all the way to the outside, and it gives you just a hair clearance there, which is just fine by me. Maybe it looks a little goofy here, but it'll work good. Rock solid. Yeah, so that's covers those 2 holes you had to modify. All I did after I cut this was spray paint it and put the plastic plugs back in. Worked good. And then when you're mounting your rails and everything else, before you tighten it all down, make sure everything is spaced as tight to the box as you can, like as far as you possibly can. Because when you're going to put in your tonneau cover, your rails mount just normal, just fine. But this guy here, like this head unit, has to slide in between your rails after you mount them. And that was absolutely brutally tight. So I ended up loosening things off and just widening it out. jamming it in there, and now it seems to work just fine. The trick is to make sure it slides, because these spring-loaded pins here, right there, they keep the tonneau cover tight as it expands and shrinks in the heat. So you want to make sure that there's enough movement left between the rails that it can still slide and do that, because if not, it's not going to do its job, and it's just not going to work that well. I left the plugs off the back here just so you could see. I'm having a heck of a time trying to keep these vertical, but basically when you put them in, crank these guys up first. Just crank the absolute hell out of them, and then leave these until the very end. Tighten them all up at the same time as you tighten up these guys, and after that you can go ahead and tighten up these ones. And that's laid out in the instructions. It's just way more of a fight when you have the boosters in here with this, because you have to put it all on at the same time. Like what I ended up doing was, because there's so little clearance there, I ended up putting the spacer on at the same time as the rail, and then taking the back rack with the brackets bolted onto it and kind of rotating it in so it slid in, and then I was able to just sneak it between the bolt and the top of and the bottom of the rail and drop it all down together. Way easier with two people. I was trying pretty hard to ding my truck, which would have sucked. So yeah, I'm pretty stoked about how it worked out. Secure. It's according to Tiger Automotive. It's not meant to happen, obviously. They don't have the brackets for it. But if you're willing to put a little bit of time in, it's not so bad. There we go. And just fine. Good to go. Back rack and tonneau cover and side rails all together.